Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 145. There is so much news to cover this week, which makes me happy because it feels like for the past few weeks it's kind of been like a lull. Like, we've got some stuff, but we were jam-packed. There was some stuff. I had to cut out a really good graphic with Rosario Dawson and Owen Wilson as ghosts, but nope, that ain't happening anymore. And there's some stuff with Christopher Nolan with Universal. We'll probably talk about that next week, maybe. There's a lot of stuff, but our discussion this week, we're going to make you feel sad, because feeling sad sometimes is cathartic. Neither Josh and I are sad right now. This is a topic that's been on the back burner for a bit, of most emotional movie scenes. Like, not necessarily like they're going to make you cry, but they're very heavy in a good way. They can be either emotionally cathartic or just... they might make you cry. Some of these, I know for a fact, have definitely made me cry on multiple occasions. But, Josh, how you doing tonight?
I'm chilling, bro. Like, straight chilling. I'm Tuesday, because we record on Tuesdays, right? So, Monday, Tuesday are my 2 days off in the week. So, I'm just like, I'm straight chilling, man. I played a lot of Apex last night. We got 3 wins in a row, and like after the third win, we were like, "Yep, all right, time to go to bed," because there ain't no way we're gonna do better than that. And then like this morning played. My brother and I have been playing It Takes Two, which is weird that he and I are playing that, but like it's a really really good game. But yeah, no, I've been straight chilling, bro.
You watching anything good?
My dad and I just started season 3, the final season of Into the Badlands. I have feelings. And I'll say this in sometimes a positive manner and sometimes, in most cases, not. The 3rd season feels like another studio picked up the show.
Oh, one of those type of feelings.
But
Scrub season 9.
But, like, not in that case, but, like, all of a sudden, out of like, it was kind of normal for, as the show has been, and that's not a negative, it's a pretty great, like, positive. The show has been pretty normal up until, I think it's, like, episode 2 or 3 of season 3, and all of a sudden, it gets really, really brutal and really, really graphic out of nowhere, and then they kind of don't acknowledge it at all. Like, so basically, the show's been out for a while, so I'm going to spoil a little bit. But, like, at one point, a Oracle-type character, they've been building up in the episode that they have to do a ceremony in order for her to see some things, to see what, see the lines that fate is drawing and stuff like that.
Your typical Oracle stuff.
Yeah, so... you could tell that story. You could do that, with drugs, or like how you normally would do with oracles. No. They put 2 hooks into her shoulder blades and raise her 20 feet up in the air, and that's how she sees things. And that the Blood Eagle scene from Vikings. It's about.
I know what a Blood Eagle is.
Yeah, so it's about that. Brutal, and like it's out of nowhere in a show that cuts away when people cut people's heads off. Like, it's so weird. And then they vividly showed somebody getting their leg like cut off because it was infected, so they're trying to save their life or whatever, it was just like out of nowhere. Season 3 is way different in like not necessarily in some good ways, but like not good. Like, my dad and I were talking, like, at this point we've got 5 storylines going on at the same time, and only one of them is interesting.
Like,
so
you and I don't typically complain about violence so long as it serves the story.
Yeah.
Like, you and I really enjoy Invincible because this violence furthers the story and the brutality of Omni-Man and other characters. But I'm not a big fan of violence for the sake of violence, and that kind of sounds like what the show is doing. They're just like, we can do it because...
I mean, it's an AMC show, so there has that.
So they can't go too far with it, though?
No, they can't go too far. And, like, it's so weird to be complaining about, like, grotesqueness and violence in a show that is mainly about martial arts. Like, I don't understand how like I'm here in this space, but that's what's going on. And completely different page. I've been watching more Friends, and it's still entertaining. And I hate myself for
Speaking
it.
of martial arts shows, I have not seen it, but it sounds right up your alley. Have you ever heard of Warrior, like a show?
Yeah,
Have you watched
it
Warrior?
is on my list of stuff to watch. I once I finish season 3 of Badlands with my dad, I think I'm gonna be like, hey,
So there's this
hey,
other
the
show.
other show that's like it was like because I've told him about it. I was like, Kung Fu, and he's like, yeah, I loved that show as a kid. I was like, all right, cool. So you know how the lead wasn't Asian? And he's like, yeah, I always thought that was weird, and like told him the story of like the history of that of what happened with that show and blah blah blah. I was like, so there's a show that's based off of Bruce Lee's intentions, and it's a thing now. And he's like, all right, that sounds really cool. So I'm like, now that we've watched Into the Badlands, I think I can slide that in. So we'll do that.
Uh, I watched, the only thing I really watched recently was James Wan's Malignant, which dropped on HBO Max.
Yes, I've been meaning to watch that.
It's weird, dude. It's like early 2000s James Wan. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but like it feels more along the lines of like a Dead Silence than a Conjuring type of
Okay.
a little more kooky. Uh, the final third is pretty good, and it gets really wacky and balls to the wall and kind of nutso in a good way.
Yeah.
There's definitely going to be some people that don't buy into this because I can understand people's criticisms of the main villain, and I get it. I thought the design was kind of cool, but without spoiling it too much, how they move can be kind of funny if you want to interpret it as funny. Also, the quote-unquote twist you could see coming a mile away. And normally I'm a positive person on this show, and I am positive that I would have liked this movie better if we got a different lead actress. No offense to Annabelle
Wow.
Wallis, but I've never liked her in anything I've seen her in. It's the same girl from The Mummy. I've seen her in other things, and I always just think she's really, really bland. And I know some people make the case of she needs to be for this role of like trauma and kind of seizing her own power by the end of it. And I'm just going, yeah, but you kind of want at least some reason to care about this character. And I think the supporting characters, as cheesy and over the top as they can be, they are at least a little more memorable and engaging than her performance. I think had we given it to somebody else, again, no offense to the actress, she's much better than I will ever be in that department, but I think the movie would have been much better served with a different actress in the role, because the script that she's given is not necessarily that bad, but I think at times her delivery is not great. The final third, though, is worth the watch in and of itself. It does get gory and over the top and fun in a cheesy way. It's not scary in any way. It delves a little too much into the action subgenre at times, and if you can get over the villain, I think you can have fun with it. It's not the best horror movie of the year. It's not even going to be even close to the best movie of the year, but it's a good HBO Max movie. I don't know if I would have liked to see this movie in theaters, but not all the movies that have gone to HBO Max were destined for the big screen. I'll put it that way. It wasn't bad. It was kind of just whatever, though. I've come to expect better from James Wan recently.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel that. I feel that a lot. I've been meaning to watch. It's been on my list of stuff that I've been meaning to catch, and then just haven't. So maybe I'll check it out.
Let's get into some news, shall we? Because we got a buttload.
Yeah.
Kicking us off is a trailer that just kind of dropped out of nowhere. Like the night before this trailer dropped, Jeremy Renner took to social media. He's like, oh, hey, by the way, my trailer comes out tomorrow morning. And all of us are going, that sounds like a Hawkeye type of announcement. Hey, guys, we're in Afterthought again. And looking at this trailer, no offense, I could see why. I didn't mind this trailer, but it's not Marvel's best. We'll just put it that way. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people have slept on both the character of Hawkeye and the prospect of this show. I think this show, unfortunately, at least how I've seen it, is a lot of people have kind of been treating this as the butt of a lot of jokes of just like, everyone gets a show. See, even Hawkeye gets a show, to which I've never really had a problem with Hawkeye. I get the joke and the criticism that he's the weakest Avenger or whatever else, but ever since Age of Ultron, I think he was one of the better and more interesting characters just because, oh, look, he actually has a family and he actually genuinely wants to retire, but you guys keep begging him to come back. And then the whole Ronin thing, which I don't think his hair is nearly as bad as everyone else makes it out to be. I kind of dig the mohawk, but we're back to boring 2012 Hawkeye hair in this one. I think the trailer for this is okay. This... Maybe it's just me. It didn't feel like a Marvel show. This felt kind of like a generic action movie. I got a little bit of Die Hard vibes from this. Josh, did you get any Die Hard vibes out of this?
Yeah, I totally got Die Hard vibes. And it does feel more like just like a generic action film. But I don't know, man. I'm trying to like be positive here because there's... You know, WandaVision was one of those shows where you're like, it's not going to be anything. And then...
It wasn't anything.
It was still entertaining up to a certain point. I don't know if it deserved 3 Emmys, but whatever.
Shallow class this year.
Yeah. Anyway, was it though? No, okay, don't get me into it. I just... Yeah, it feels like an afterthought, and it feels like it's entertaining to a certain level. I have no issue with anybody's performance, I guess, in the trailer, but it kind of like is one of those trailers, and even the even the logo is kind of like, okay, cool, I guess.
Is Target going to sue them for copyright infringement?
I don't see why not, but like I think okay, so let's go takeaways real quick here. Things that you maybe you enjoyed from the trailer.
Cute doggo.
I like
There's a cute doggo.
Cute doggo. I love Kate being like, I'm the greatest archer on the planet, whatever. And he's like,
Who says that?
Does everybody say that? Or and she goes, well, I say that. I say that. I was like, okay, that's a great little tag because that's always the thing attached to Hawkeye. I think I mentioned it to you. I love that Clint has a hearing aid in this. Although you need to explain it. You can't. I swear, and I think you said this to me too. If they just be like, yeah, no, he's always had this issue. No, I'm sorry. We have close to 20 movies saying otherwise.
Yeah, that's one of those, like, if I'll be very pissed if they retroactively just go, yeah, he's always been deaf. I'll point to specific scenes in the MCU going, no, he's clearly not. Like, hey, remember that time in the first Avengers movie when he's on top of the roof and he's shooting arrows and no one's around him, yet he's talking to the rest of his teammates with an earpiece?
Mm-hmm.
Other times, maybe you'd be like, okay, the deaf community is the best at reading lips. Maybe he's just really good at reading lips. But other times, he's by himself and he cannot read people's lips. So he's not always been deaf. So I don't think they'll do that, but I will want an explanation to why he now has a hearing aid. Some people have suggested in that massive explosion at Avengers Tower in Endgame, that knocked out his hearing. Okay. To which I'm just going... Okay. Well, is Ant-Man deaf then? Is
Ant-Man's super.
I'm trying to think of who else was there, because Captain America's old and on the moon now. Iron Man's dead. Hulk. Oh yeah, we could say it now. Shang-Chi's been out for 2 weeks. He's back to human form now and not wearing a hearing aid. So I don't know if I would say Endgame is what caused Hawkeye to be deaf. I just want clarification. I just want to know what happened there. Yeah. What caused him to go. Now, if he like lost it in the first episode, sure, fine. But the fact that he's like sending his family away, it makes it kind of seem like sometime between Endgame and this, he lost his hearing. And I'm like, that's kind of a big deal here of you just lost one of your major senses. But I'm glad that they will be taking that approach just because as I'm not overly familiar with the character, I do know that he's been deaf for quite a while in the comics, and I think that would be really good representation for the deaf community, as we'll talk about a deaf character in our discussion later, because, it's so good. But I think that's a audience that could use some representation, and I think Hawkeye would be a good face for that. This is not a show about Hawkeye This is, again, just like the Black Widow movie was introducing Elena and basically was doing nothing else. WandaVision, they'll say was exploring the multiverse. That was not true. It was just there to introduce us to the twins. This is just further setting up the Young Avengers, basically, to me. But the big difference is it's Haley Steinfeld, so I'm much more interested in it because, as we talked about numerous times on the podcast, 9 times out of 10 when Haley Steinfeld is attached to something, it means it's going to be good, with a few exceptions, Pitch Perfect sequels. Yes, I just referenced those. But by and large, she needs to give her agent a raise because usually her agent picks great projects for her to be in. Let's just look at her very first thing. True Grit. Holy crap, guys. And then you got Bumblebee, you've got this. I'm sure she'll knock it out of the park. I feel like I'm missing a really big one, but I'm trying to remember what it is. I've heard great things about her on Dickinson. She's just one of our favorite I don't even know if she's an up-and-coming actress at this point. She's
technically at this point now, yeah.
I feel like she's one of those MCU castings that we've got when they're actually big. As much as you and I have loved Florence Pugh for quite a few years now, I felt like Black Widow was Florence Pugh's big coming out party to the mainstream audience. Yeah. The mainstream already knows who Haley Steinfeld is, so whether it's movies or music or whatever else. I feel like this is Marvel actually kind of just going with a big name, which we haven't done since maybe Benedict Cumberbatch with Doctor Strange. I'm sure there's some other names I'm missing. Chadwick Boseman wasn't a big name yet. Brie Larson wasn't a big name yet, I don't think.
Well, and I mean, you could almost argue Robert De Niro. Not Robert De Wow. Oh, jeez. Downey Jr.
But that was at the beginning.
That was at the beginning, and nobody took him seriously because he just got out of rehab.
But yeah, I'm saying since Doctor Strange, we've had intros to people.
No, but I don't think anybody really, really big has been cast.
And we're not saying Haley Steinfeld is on the same fame level as a Benedict Cumberbatch or a Robert Downey Jr. We're just saying she's, for Marvel castings, which typically lean on the more obscure to fit the role pretty well, they went with a pretty high-profile name in Haley Steinfeld, who we still think will be excellent for the role. I appreciate that right off the bat. I think her costume is already better than most of the Avengers roster. It's just kind of bizarre to me that now that we're done with Endgame, Marvel just seems to be focused on, okay, now is when we're going to do comic-accurate costumes. I'm going, why couldn't we do that before? Come on now. Okay, we teased it a little bit in Thor Ragnarok, but if we're doing comic book accurate suits, can we please bring back the winged helmet for Thor? I'm still pissed that they took that away in the first Thor movie because that was perfect. But
it was gorgeous, bro.
Josh, how you feeling about the purple Kate Bishop suit so far?
Let's go. Absolutely. Yeah. Bring it on. I'm very curious as to why she's wearing a Ronin replica suit at the beginning. First of all, that was during the 5 years everybody was snapped, so
clearly she was still here.
Yeah, and how would the news have images and have that kind of information? I don't know. I have all kinds of questions. It's about time frame and stuff like that.
Don't think about the blip.
Don't think about it. I can't. We literally so much of the show is so much of the shows coming in right now have been so revolving around the idea of the ramifications of the blip. So it's kind of hard to ignore at this particular moment.
So as a whole, this trailer didn't get me more excited, but also didn't take away my excitement. It pretty much stayed level, which at least in my eyes means not a good trailer, but that's because a trailer should raise your excitement. Shouldn't detract.
Yeah.
But the fact that my excitement just kind of stays where it's at, I was like, I appreciated all the Christmas theming. It got me in the Christmas mood. In September, get away from me in my spoopy time. I will celebrate your Christmas season when it comes its time due, but for the time being, let me have my spooky stuff. Let me have my Muppets Haunted Mansion. Do we know how many episodes this is? Is this 6 or 8?
No clue. Yeah, knowing that, given how how the shows have been going lately, I'd say yeah, probably 6 or 8. I'd max would be 10, but I
Now,
don't know if they can get 10 episodes out of it.
I'll be very curious how they rope in Yelena into this, because obviously after Black Widow, she's destined to run into Hawkeye somehow, which I'm not going to lie. I would pay good money to see Florence Pugh versus Haley Steinfeld. Like maybe
I'm down.
maybe like Hawkeye's injured as we see him ice pack up a ton in this trailer, which I kind of appreciate that he's going to get the crap beat out of him. Maybe
Yeah.
like she's about to fight him and like Game of Thrones type of situation of I need a stand-in. Here's my fighter. You two fight. And that the two of them realize, okay, this has been a big misunderstanding, and the two of them more or less become some of the new recruits for the new Avengers going forward, and we get a buddy dynamic between the two of them. Yes, please pair up Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld. They could be the new Bucky and Sam Wilson pairing type. I'd be absolutely down for that.
The other thing I thought about was just like all of the comedy that Florence brings in Black Widow is I'm just picturing some of the comments she makes in that movie talking. It maybe her and Clint kind of have like a moment where they're reflecting about Natalia and like being like having memories and stuff, and she brings up the poser thing, and Clint's like, I know, I always thought that was weird.
I can see that. I would like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not gonna lie, this next one makes me a bit nervous. Actually, a bit nervous. So Peacock, the struggling streaming service, which has more people than we think, but not as many paid people as they would like, Peacock has made the decision to move Halloween Kills to a day-and-date release, as it will be coming both theatrically and Peacock the same day, as Peacock is owned by Universal and Blumhouse is also owned by Universal. Oh boy. I would not be so nervous about this had this be timed differently. And what I mean by that is this gets announced a day after the reviews of this movie started coming out of the Venice Film Festival, which, to put it nicely, were not glowing reviews. However, I'm not dissuaded yet, because a lot of the critics were just like, well, as much as we like 2018's Halloween for its examination of grief and how does one deal with trauma as a woman growing up with stuff, this movie is much more involved in the darkness and violence and how does a city deal with a murderer. And if you like blood and gore, this might be for you. I'm going, it's a Halloween sequel. What do you think we want? I don't care about the analysis of madness of what makes someone evil. Like, as much as I love Loomis, I don't need to know that Michael Myers has the devil's eyes, the blackest eyes. We already know that. We don't need an analysis of what makes him evil. Like, I need my blood and violence in my Halloween movies. We've already seen in the trailer some great kills. We've seen Michael kill somebody with a light tube. We've seen a whole bunch of mayhem and insanity. Now, the reviews I'm hearing from actual Halloween and horror fans are going, oh, this is a bloody mess and it's fantastic. So I'm not overly worried about the critics. I think Universal is worried about the critics. And also, they need Peacock to do better. This is not the first, but it's pretty close to the first time that they've done this. The first time they did this with releasing a movie on Peacock and on streaming the same day was the Boss Baby sequel, to which, that's such a high demand movie there.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I understand the decision, but at the same time, just my immediate gut reaction, just because of how we've been conditioned to view movies going day and date, raises a lot of red flags to me, both for it going to stream, but also the timing of it all. Just going, oh yeah, all those reviews that came about this movie that aren't super positive? Oh yeah, we're very positive about it. That's why we're putting it on streaming. Josh, am I raising too many red flags, or do you think this is good because more people will see it?
I don't I don't think more people will see it because it'll be on Peacock because it's Peacock.
Which I've defended many times, but at the same time, it's still a bad service. for those WWE fans, I'm sorry that it moved off of the WWE Network, which honestly was one of the most reliable streaming services I'd seen in a while. And now you watch it on Peacock, and oh my God, pay-per-views are unwatchable. One, because it's WWE, and two, the stream just dies. Like, oh my God, Peacock, fix your crap.
I mean, it's fine. Everybody's watching AEW nowadays anyway.
Bryan Danielson, baby!
Let's go.
Kevin Steen is next. Kevin Steen and Sami Zayn are next, buddy.
Oh, buddy. It's so funny. Little sidetrack here. I don't think I haven't seen you this excited about wrestling in a long time,
dude.
And that's saying something.
Okay, so. This is how much AEW is killing it right now. I've thought about getting cable just to watch it live every week. Ooh, I haven't yet. I'm fine with watching YouTube replays, but like, no, AEW is getting me back into wrestling. But getting back to the mayhem of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Red flag, Josh. Red flag.
Nah, to me,
really,
not really. I think it is my let me rephrase. It is my hope that because of the success of the 2018 Halloween, people will be like, that's something I still want to see, regardless of like what critics are saying about it. And I would hope that, because here's the thing. When it comes to critics, they expect horror movies to be something a lot more than a simple plot or a simple idea or simple concepts.
They just always want Get Out.
Yeah, they do. But I while I appreciate the first one, and they are right, that does take a look at the ramifications of grief and the ramifications of trauma and like how that. I agree. Or it's just about a lady who's been through some stuff, and this is how she reacts. It doesn't have to be so complicated. This is a horror movie, man. It's not like
this is the same franchise that had Busta Rhyme karate kick Michael Myers and say "trick or treat, mother effer," just for you, Josh.
Yeah, that is like one of my favorite horror movie moments of all time, and you can't tell me otherwise. But the being like, if you like blood and guts, this is the movie for you, I guess. And trying to make it sound snobby, but like, you're talking about a Halloween movie? Like, shut up. Go away. I don't want it. Like, I have no worries. There's like a little red flag in the back of my head about it, but I don't care. I'm going to see it. And you know what?
We've seen it together, too.
What? No way. Oh,
what's this? Also, so as we've said before, once we get 500 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a live reaction to, not live, I will do a reaction video to my very first ever video. I think if y'all like that video enough, we should make Josh do the same thing.
No, stop. No. There's
still evidence out there.
Here's the thing, man. It's attached to my Google email.
Oh, so I still have it under my liked videos section.
Anytime I open up my YouTube profile, it has the little like channel thing right there, and every time I literally will avoid going to my profile in YouTube so I don't have to look at it, because there's like only 5 videos there, and I just I don't want. Yeah, no.
My only other red flag about Halloween, as we keep getting sidetracked, my only other concern about this is how will this, if at all, it might not, how will this affect Halloween Ends, which has not started filming yet? Like, this Halloween Kills is specifically designed to be a middle movie of a trilogy. It's supposed to be like The Empire Strikes Back. So, spoiler alert, I'm fully expecting Michael Myers to win and slaughter basically all of Haddonfield. Like, if I don't get that, I'll be very, very surprised, because you've got to build dramatic tension for the third one. I wonder if they'll approach Halloween Ends the same way of just like, oh, well, Kills didn't make that much money. I don't see, it depends on some studios. Like, Disney clearly is like, well, it didn't get box office, so we're not getting a sequel. Whereas, like, Free Guy was only theaters, and that did well. And that is getting a sequel, where some other studios are kind of more accepting. Like, there was a report that came out that Warner Brothers is going, we'll probably make a Dune movie, a Dune sequel, if this does pretty well on HBO Max, even if it doesn't make its money back in theaters. I'm going, okay, that's a good sign.
That's reassuring. Yeah.
What approach will Universal take? Because Halloween right now is one of the biggest cash cows in terms of the horror franchise. But Ends is supposed to be the end of this story arc, whatever that means, whether that definitively ends Michael Myers or that definitively ends Laurie Strode again. We don't know, but I just hope that this going to streaming doesn't affect Ends, which hasn't filmed yet. It's supposed to start filming in January, but we haven't gotten any updates on that since. I'm just hoping that this doesn't, like, I don't think it will flop. I just hope it doesn't, and that will impact future movies.
I don't think it's gonna flop, and honestly, just because of, and maybe I'm trying to be hopeful here, just because of the positivity from the first one, and I'm hoping that I think the snooty critics will kind of pan it, the horror community will love this, and the fans of Halloween will love it. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's the only thing Universal will see, because at the same time, while it is a cash cow, they only gave Rob Zombie two of them.
Well, he quit. So, well, there's actually interesting stories about that, but that could be a video for another day about Halloween 3D.
I'm not as worried, I think, as you are, and I think that's just because I'm trying to be positive about it, because I think it would be a pretty big feat in the horror genre community to do a solid trilogy where every single movie is good.
Yeah,
you know Halloween what I mean?
Halloween has had back-to-back movies that are good before. They just haven't had 3 in a row. But I still maintain that Halloween 3 is really underrated, but it doesn't have Michael. We haven't had 3 good Michael movies in a row. We'll say that.
Correct.
So we talked about Paramount last week delaying Mission Impossible, Top Gun Maverick, and Jackass, which we said, in hindsight, looking at the success of Shang-Chi, was probably a really, really idiotic mistake. Mm-hmm. And now, looking at their future plans, looks like even more of an idiotic mistake, as it seems like Paramount is actually shifting away from theatrical experiences, or at least to the extent that they have in the past. So Paramount is undergoing a transition at its top management, and the former head is out, and they're bringing in Brian Robbins, who was the head of Nickelodeon, more or less, to be the head of all of Paramount. So basically, it's just a step up for him, because Paramount owns Nickelodeon. And they're said to be moving away from the theatrical releases, at least to the extent that they are right now. So they might still have like a few, but they'll focus more of their attention on Paramount Plus, their streaming service, which we said last week, you should have just put Top Gun, Maverick, Mission Impossible, and Jackass Forever on Paramount Plus, because all of those have appeal and people would go see those. I was excited for Top Gun Maverick. I would have liked to see it in theaters, but I know a lot of people that are fans of the original Top Gun that would have signed up for Paramount Plus just to see that Top Gun. You brought it up last week, and I completely agree. There will always be a market for the Jackass movies. There would have been people that signed up for it just to see Jackass Forever. Mm-hmm. Although, not to typecast, but I feel like the people that would go out and see Jackass on Peacock probably wouldn't see it on Peacock and would find alternate means, so to speak.
What? No! I don't know what you're speaking of. I don't know how accurate that is, because I don't know how prevalent movie pirating is these days, because everybody's a
bigger than ever.
A little bit more concerned about what the health of their computers, but yes.
But so Paramount is said to be moving away from theatrical experiences, to which I'm just going, this is what happens when you are like the annoying little brother of the movie studios. Like, don't get me wrong, Paramount has had some good movies, but they also did Snake Eyes and all the other G.I. Joe movies. Like, Paramount, they've had some good stuff in the past, but they are like 1 or 2 flops away from being bought by somebody else. No joke. Like, as much as we joke about it sometimes, if Paramount did not have Tom Cruise, I don't think there would be a Paramount right now.
Yeah.
Because people are excited for Top Gun Maverick, Tom Cruise. their major franchise right now, basically their only like consistently lucrative franchise is Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
They keep trying to make franchises, but they just don't work. Why
They
do
don't
you think
commit. They just don't commit.
they keep rebooting Transformers every couple of years, and when they do actually make good ones, Bumblebee, they don't make sequels, and they just go back to what worked. Like the new Transformers with, I forget what it's called. It's not a continuation of the Bumblebee storyline. It's set to be a just straight up reboot. I'm going, just why? The reason that Bumblebee did not do well at the box office is because people were expecting it to be like the Michael Bay sequels that made less and less money. I swear, if you made a Bumblebee sequel, because it had such positive word of mouth and so many people found it via home video and Blu-ray and whatever else, that it would have done well for a sequel. But now Haley Steinfeld's busy doing other things. I don't understand this decision, but at the same time, I think this is Paramount waving the white flag going, we've kind of sucked at this theatrical release thing, so let us be the first one to bow out, because we've got our streaming service to focus on, which Paramount Plus is a mixed bag for me. They've got some good stuff, a lot of good old TV, like if you grew up with Nickelodeon, it's a good service. And they've got some good movies on there. They already have more 4K stuff than HBO Max. Shocker. You're late to the party on that one, HBO Max. Which supposedly HBO Max is overdue for a really big overhaul in the coming months of like... They teamed up with a new provider or whatever to build their service from an interface standpoint, so I'm hoping that means 4K titles too. But Paramount Plus has not gotten off to the start that they were hoping for. But I first blamed that off of a terrible name to begin with CBS All Access. That just sounds like a free catch up on your parents' favorite TV shows type of streaming service.
Yeah.
And then renamed it to Paramount Plus, which is not a bad name, but they have such a thin library. That's why they milk Star Trek for everything it's worth, because it's honestly the only thing that they have besides Ninja Turtles, which they're about to milk to death, which Josh is just in the corner going, it's Ninja Turtles, please give it to me. I will try any Ninja Turtles at least once.
At least once. Come on, man. I mean, I think part of that mindset is when they came out with, it was like that one that was animated, the movie that was animated.
TMNT?
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is stupid. I can't believe that they would just drag Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles through the mud like this, blah, blah, blah. And then I watched the movie and then bought the DS game. And I was like, bro, this is great. This is so good. So ever since then, I've been like, you know what? I will watch anything TMNT at least once or twice. Give it a chance. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Out of the shadows.
Well, yeah. But that's already happened, so...
We could get another Ninja Turtles Christmas special. I mean, gotta get a gift for Splinter.
Out of the Shadows, while not great, is still better than
the 2014.
Ninja Turtles 4. Is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4. The one where they introduce the female turtle.
Venus de Milo never happened. That movie doesn't exist. It's out of continuity. We don't talk about that one.
Exactly, but that's my point. Like there's not, to me at this particular moment, there's not a lot that they can do wrong unless they drastically change everything about the Turtles. But anyway, with that being said, I'm kind of with you in that Paramount has kind of due for an overhaul in general anyway. So sure, why not? As far as them kind of bowing out of the theatrical releases, to me that feels like almost like, oh well, what we've been trying is not working. So instead of trying something new and different, we're going to just dip, which is like, I don't know, kind of feels like quitting. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree at this stage, but we'll see. They've got a long way to go to play catch up.
Yeah.
Now, seemingly out of nowhere, Marvel decides that, hey, we've got release dates, so we're just going to announce them. But they don't say what they are. So we've got 4 new release dates for upcoming Marvel movies with February 16th, May 3rd, July 26th, and November 8th, 2024. And as you can see, I'm busting out the tinfoil hat because I feel pretty dang confident that I know not 1, but what all 4 of these movies are going to be. But because I'm the master of anticipation.
Anticipation!
I'm going to have Josh go first. Josh, you see February 16th, May 3rd, July 26th, and November 8th, 2024 on the calendar. If you had to bet, what are these 4 movies?
At least one of them's Fantastic Four. There's no way that one of them's not. And at least one of them is Silver Surfer related. If he doesn't show up in the movies in this phase 4 right now. I don't see how we don't build up to having Galactus in phase 6. I don't see how we don't do that at this point.
Besides that, do you have any other guesses?
No.
So
I'm just chilling, bro.
So I've thought way too much about this, and
obviously the
research and thought went into this. So February 16th. Only one of these dates I think is a project that hasn't been announced yet. The other 3 I think are announced, but we just haven't had dates yet for. February 16th, I think it will be Blade.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Because if you look, Black Panther also came out in February for Black History Month. And I think they might go back to that well. And also, Black Panther was wildly successful for them financially for a February release. And I think they might try that again with Black Panther. And not Black Panther, for Blade. And also, almost none of the movies I'm going to talk about are sequels because we are getting a lot of sequels in 2022 and 2023. And by the time we get turnover, it takes about 2 to 3 years for a movie to get a sequel, which would probably put Spider-Man getting a sequel sometime in 2024, but that wouldn't show up in a Disney schedule. That would show up in a Sony schedule. So I'm thinking way too much about this. But I think Blade, because that's been announced, we already have a writer for that. So I think we're not too far off from starting actual production on that. So I think February release would do well for that. May 3rd, that one I think to me is the easiest one. Avengers 5. Avengers movies the past few times have come out the first weekend in May. It's the start of the box office summer. If it's not the first weekend in May, it's the last weekend in April if they really wanted to start it prematurely. It's a pretty proven draw. It's by the time that'll happen in 2024, it'll be 5 years since the last Avengers movie, and we'll have a lot of movies to build up whatever our new roster will be. So this makes the most sense to me. July 26th, here's Fantastic Four. Because if you look at the track record of the MCU, they like to, whatever movie comes out after an Avengers movie does extremely well. Iron Man 3, as much as we have issues with it, made over $1 billion. After Age of Ultron, I'm trying to think of what came after Age of Ultron. I can't remember, but I know it did well as well. Then after, it might have been Spider-Man. I'm trying to remember now.
Pretty sure it was.
I can't. Spider-Man was.
No, it wasn't Spider-Man.
Homecoming was 2017. Somebody in the comments section, I'm sure, will remind us.
It's got to, because Civil War has to happen before Homecoming.
Yeah. But Spider-Man also did well. Far From Home came out after Endgame, and that made a bunch of money. So if Disney wants to go, we have faith in Fantastic Four, put it right after Avengers because you've got that momentum going forward. If you want to maximize your profit of this potentially unproven franchise, not unproven, but this new take that you've got, you want to put your best foot forward, you follow it up after an Avengers movie. You can do some teasing in Avengers for this movie for Fantastic Four. I think that makes the most sense. Fantastic Four just screams a July big summer release. It doesn't have a release date yet. It's not coming out in 2023, and we still haven't even started casting, so I think production-wise, 2024 is a good time frame. Now, the only one that I feel less than confident about, but I'm still kind of confident about, November 8th. I don't know what we're going to call it, so I'm just going to call it The Mutants. And here's why. November, lately and previously in the MCU has been their time period to experiment and introduce new characters. The first Doctor Strange came out in November. This November, The Eternals. Next November, Miss Marvel. They use November as a time to introduce people that they don't know if they're going to be big summer release movies yet. So the movies will come out in fall, and then there's sequels like not In the Mouth of Madness. That's a very different movie. Multiverse of Madness comes out in the summer. Granted, Thor: The Dark World came out in November, but Marvel wants you to forget about that movie. I think after Avengers 5, we'll get past that 5-year window that Kevin Feige said he was planned on, and we can start getting in our Fox characters. We get Fantastic Four, and then we get our X-Men characters back to back after an Avengers movie to start building up the next phase with this new roster. So if we get the people in Phase 4, we'll build up to Avengers, and then after Avengers, we start our Phase 5, and what better way to do that, just like every previous Marvel movie, by introducing our new characters, Fantastic Four and X-Men.
Yeah. All right. Well, the tinfoil hat was well deserved today. I have no argument against any of those, mainly because it makes so much sense. And
you can't argue with crazy.
But yeah, I'm down. Absolutely. I think the February release date for Blade makes the most sense, as well as May 3rd.
Also,
he took the hat off and now he's got more ideas.
Also, what if Blade is rated R? Do we know of any other R-rated comic book movies that came out in February?
Deadpool.
Bingo. I don't know if we'll get an R-rated Blade, but it's just more of, where's that what's that meme from It's Always Sunny? Just here's my board of just here's why Blade is coming in February 2024.
Yeah, but it's one of those. It's gonna have to come eventually. We can't ignore all these projects. Yeah, no, that timeline makes sense to me. I'm down. Why not? What could possibly go wrong?
Well, I mean, we could get a Matrix sequel. That might be considered wrong, and we've just lost some people, I'm sure. We got a trailer for The Matrix Resurrections, which is the 4th installment in the Matrix franchise, which I'm sure this movie will be acting both as a sequel and as a reboot. And I'll be upfront right off the top. I don't really care about the Matrix franchise. It's just kind of whatever to me. Even the original one, I'm just kind of whatever on. I don't mind it, but I've always thought they're just kind of okay. I think they've always strived to put the visuals above their actual storytelling, which, if that isn't the Wachowskis in a nutshell, I don't know what is. The trailer looks okay, even if it does just kind of look like an LSD John Wick. Like, it doesn't, I don't know, I'm not getting distinctly Matrix vibes here, but maybe like for those diehard Matrix fans, they're just like, you're not getting this reference or this reference and this reference. I'm like, maybe I'm not, but if you're excited for that, that's awesome. Josh, are you a Matrix fan, and did you like this trailer?
I think the Matrix series has a special place in my heart. I will say the second two are not as good as the first. And I think there's a lot of really interesting sci-fi conversations to have and stories to be told, especially with going back to the Matrix universe. But I don't think any of those stories are going to be told here. I think this is John Wick, but in the Matrix universe. And while I'm super excited to see Neo again, I was kind of hoping that he would, I don't know, not be looking exactly like John Wick.
With a duck on his head.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to, instead of telling you what I think about the trailer, here's what I think the story they should tell. Because this is not the story, and you can go look at the description of the movie. This is not the story that they're telling. Let's say, if you want to sit here and be like, life is a simulation. Okay, cool. So once you end that simulation, what's Neo gonna go through once, I don't know, there's technically now only one timeline. Like, the simulation shouldn't exist because he shut it down. So what if he's living his life, but he's got the PTSD because he can't tell if he's in a simulation or not, even though there's no simulation. And so then that just spirals out of, I don't know where you would go with, but like that's not the story. It's from the trailer and from the movie description. That is not the story that they're telling. And they're telling that he's somehow in a new simulation altogether, which, how did you get there? I don't get it. It's fine. You know what? Whatever. I don't care. I'll probably see it once, and only if they release it on, like, I don't know, HBO Max or something. Like,
I mean, it is a Warner Brothers movie, so.
Dude, it just, I think my hope is that they didn't bring back Matrix, which is one of the most iconic sci-fi trilogies in history, right? They didn't just bring it back so that Keanu could do John Wick.
Whoa.
In a different franchise. Like, that's my hope, because that's what the trailer looks like to me.
What I would have liked the story to do, and I don't think they're doing this, I think it's going to be very much the Force Awakens of the Matrix, of just like, let's kind of just rework the original movie. What I would have done is, I don't think they're this smart though, is everything from the trailer is like from the first 20 minutes of the movie, and Neo quickly realizes that he's the one, and it's his job to go to Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who we see in the picture here, and teach him more or less, because it kind of, we get the sense that he's Morpheus basically, because Lawrence Fishburne's not back. Yeah. If it was, instead of Neo is the student, Neo is the master trying to do for Morpheus what Morpheus did for him all those years ago, of basically wake him up, except a more, maybe like a reincarnated version of Morpheus type of thing. I think that would be much more interesting, but that's clearly not what's happening here. That being said, you got Yahya Abdul-Mateen in the movie. It makes me excited. He was good in Candyman. He's great in Black Manta. Love me some Yahya Abdul-Mateen. So,
and
sure.
Quite honestly, I kind of am down at the idea of having, gosh, I feel bad, Neil Patrick Harris. I was going to call him Barney Stinson, but I'm excited for him to play a villain.
I don't think he is.
So interesting.
I don't think he's a big character. I think Jonathan Groff, who we see at the end, is Mr. Anderson.
I hear you.
No, not Mr. Anderson. Agent Smith.
Yes, but I think. But what? That's my thing. It's like, what if Barney Stinson's character is just another Agent Smith? Gosh, I did it! No, no! I feel so bad. Oh my gosh.
Your legend is Derry.
I hate everything. But yeah, the trailer didn't do much for me. And just to field my opinions, just to make sure, I asked a couple of people at work, and they were like, "Yeah, this just looks like John Wick, man. Like, I don't know." So it is what it is.
Also, I'd be much more excited for this movie if I hadn't seen the past few Wachowski movies.
Yeah, and it's interesting that only one of the Wachowskis is doing this one.
Yeah, we didn't forget about Jupiter Ascending, guys. Now, Josh, let's talk about something that you're much more excited about, that both of us are much more excited about. As Sony was just like, Merry Christmas, everybody. Here's some game announcements. But they didn't give us like a overabundance of announcements.
It was nice.
Just the right amount for us to go. All of us with PS5s are just gloating, and everyone else is going, scalpers! As Sony just randomly decided, hey, today's our state of play. Let's announce some game stuff. And announce some game stuff they did. So there's a lot to go over. Wow. We've got Knights of the Old Republic remake coming, which the irony is not lost on me that the original came out on Xbox, and now this will be a PS5 exclusive. So
yeah,
that's very funny to me. Sony and Insomniac, who made the Spider-Man game, which we'll talk about, are making a Wolverine game, which the teaser for that was amazing. Spider-Man 2 is in the works, but it's not coming out until 2023, with the main villain being Venom, voiced by original Candyman Tony Todd. Oh, sweet Jesus, yes! We'll talk about that more, because I don't think Venom's the only major villain that they tease, obviously, in that trailer. What Josh will want to talk about the most, obviously, God of War Ragnarok's gameplay trailer, which, oddly enough for me, they said this will be the final Norse game, which I'm going, the second one is the final one? okay, maybe my brain is just so programmed to go trilogy, but whatever. And then obviously the most important news for everyone out there, the thing that no one is talking about but me. I don't care. It's my podcast. Uncharted 4 is getting a PS5 remaster because, it didn't just come out 5 years ago. It doesn't really need a remaster because it's still one of the best looking games on PS4, but I don't care. Is this just going, oh, there's an Uncharted movie. Can we re-release something that's slightly prettier to do combined sales with? Sure, just slap a new skin on Uncharted 4 and suckers like Nathan will buy it. Because yes, you're darn right I will, because there's any excuse to play Uncharted 4 again in slightly better resolution. Oh yeah, I'm going to play that again. But Josh...
it's going to be... It would be great if you go to play it and it's not even slightly better. It's worlds better in resolution. And you're like, oh, I was not ready for this. Okay.
It'll look good, but the shooting mechanics will still be booty.
God, I hate those. Literally, and I know you and I have talked about this, the only reason that I find Uncharted games to be unplayable is the shooting mechanics.
The hit detection is so bad in all 4 games. It's so bad.
It so much. 2, I was super down and super I'm playing the storyline. I'm like, this is great. I can't hit anything, but this is great.
No, the worst though for Uncharted is you get a sniper from really far away. You get it all lined up. You're just holding it just to make sure that the guy's not going to pace. As soon as you fire, he walks to the side and you miss. You're like,
oh. There was, I have never had a game make me rage as much as Uncharted did, just because NPCs won't do what I need them to do.
And then an NPC will come out of nowhere and just shotgun you in the face. You're just like, where are you?
Oh, God. Oh,
but Josh,
so mad.
If Josh keeps raging in Uncharted, then he will bring his own Ragnarok. Let's discuss God of War.
All right, dude. So what's really crazy is I think the first couple shots of the gameplay trailer, I thought were from the first game. They don't look necessarily that much different, which I think is a bold choice.
But then you see teenage Atreus, who I already want to slap in the face.
I think that's the point. I don't think at any point where I think this is just a extension of of the first game where you're useful sometimes. And
boy, I'm gonna slap you.
I like the arc that he goes through, but by the end, in the middle of God of War, was it 2018 God of War?
Yeah,
I think when he finds out he's a god, and oh god, there's a good 2 hours of gameplay in that game. I wanted to smack the living crap out of Atreus, but. I hope that continues. I hope that continues in Ragnarok because I think it's just going to happen.
I wonder why he's acting like such a brat.
Okay.
It's almost like
here's
nothing for those that haven't played the game. There's he might be somebody else.
So, I think the trailer does something that I was not expecting. I thought they does not give us a gameplay view of Thor. It talks about we got a picture of Thor, but it does not give us
which we can talk about that
gameplay view. Yeah. It talks a lot about them trying to find Odin, and then
don't show
Odin, and then shows us the one god that they said was dead the entire other first game. Tyr. And I'm so here for it because you know what? I'm so excited because if this is the last Nordic game, that means we're going to other cultures, baby. Let's go.
Egypt. Egypt.
Oh, dude, Kratos versus Anubis is going to be.
Kratos
so
versus
ready.
Anubis, dude.
I'm just.
If you
so
fight in
ready.
hell, oh, dude.
Oh, dude. There's just so much. So excited, and I think that's why they're not doing a trilogy. They're doing the rigmarole. They're doing to every mythology. Why not?
But then again,
what could possibly go wrong?
At least to me, there's so much you could have gotten out of the Norse mythology. There's so much lore there that you could explore. But then again, maybe their story is so tight and compact and well done in this one that they don't need more, or they don't want to just like bleed it out just for the sake of sequels, which I can respect that. Let's get into the thing that's causing quite a bit of discussion online. What do you think of Thor's design? I, for one, am all about it. I really, really like it. I think so many people are just expecting like MCU, to which I'm just going, y'all, if you know anything about Norse mythology, Chris Hemsworth looks nothing like Thor.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely all about it. I can't. There's a part of me that wishes he would like put a shirt on because I don't want to. But it makes sense at the same time. No, I'm super.
But his
down
state
with
of
it.
mind says the thunder rolls, and he has rolls too.
Here's the thing: given that you fight his sons in the first one, and I hate calling. I don't know why I keep calling it the first one, and it's 2018 God of War.
It's just God of War.
His appearance here is not that surprising, given what his sons look like.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're going. It's obvious they're going with a much more traditional look, and I'm here for it. So here's my take on why we're done with the Nordic part, right? So basically the whole reason we're in the Nordic world is kind of wrapped up nice and tight in the first one, in the 2018 God of War. The only reason we were there is because of Kratos' now dead wife. So who is to say they don't get either run out or just maybe they have to leave for certain reasons. I'm pulling it right now. I think you meet Tyr in the first third of the game.
Oh, I think a lot of this footage is from the first third of this game.
Dude, I think I wouldn't be surprised if we are no longer in the Nordic world by the end of the game.
No, I'm still expecting Odin to be the big final boss because it's got to be. But I think a lot of the gameplay that they show in this trailer, if you watch like the details in the backgrounds and who he's fighting, it looks a lot like it's all in the same spot. So I would not be surprised if it's the first like maybe hour or two of the actual game. And God of War is typically about what? 25 to 27 hours more or less. Like Uncharted 4 was 23 or 24 and God of War was slightly longer than that. So if this is on PS5, which, good luck with scalpers, Josh, because this is going to be a PS5 game. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 30-hour game or a 35-hour game.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just looking forward to PS5 games actually coming out as opposed to just replaying PS4 games because pandemic has been sucky for all the kinds of reasons, but also has halted production on a lot of games as I'm still over here waiting on Lego Skywalker Saga. But
yeah. So, I think the trailer gave me just enough to be like, okay, cool. This is still a thing that's happening. Let's keep, all right. They're doing something else with it. The trailer gives you just enough bite for you to wait for it.
Now, let's talk about the Spider-Man trailer very briefly, and then we'll move on to our last news topic. That, before Venom shows up at the end, I'm just going, oh, so Kraven's the main villain for this game. Because the voiceover, first of all, Russian accent, talking about wanting to hunt something that's his equal that might finally be able to beat him someday. I'm going, oh yeah, that's absolutely Kraven. Also add to the fact that Kraven wasn't in the original game whatsoever. Makes me really, really excited because we both really, really like Kraven the Hunter, and I'd be very curious to see what Insomniac do with him because everything about that first Spider-Man game was written so well. Everything was executed so perfectly. It's one of, if not the best portrayals of Spider-Man this side of jailed Drake Bell. But Doc Ock was excellent. So I'd be very curious to see what Kraven the Hunter does. I wouldn't be surprised the way that this trailer was edited together. And here's maybe I need to bring the hat back. This is totally out of left field and nothing to support this whatsoever. I wouldn't be surprised if Kraven is Venom this time around.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm not against that. I'm not against that at all. Because technically anybody can be Venom, but yeah.
I know the game has set it up that Harry will be it because he's in the tank, spoiler alert, for the first game. But wouldn't it be cool is if the first fight, you fight Kraven as maybe Spider-Man and Miles teaming up together as a team-up fight, but at the end of the game, you have to rematch Kraven when he's Venom in Venom form. I think that would be cool. Very interesting. Because
super cool.
Kraven's scary enough by himself.
Give him a Venom suit, and I'm just like trying to imagine what a Venom Kraven would look like, and I'm all about it. And I think the fact that we're so excited for the next Spider-Man game because of the success of the first one, I think is why normally I'd be super hesitant of a Wolverine game, but it is literally because of Insomniac and Sony and what they did with that first Spider-Man game. The trailer's really cool for Wolverine, but like, I'm here for it. Absolutely. Given the studio that's behind it, now we're not just going to get a Wolverine, a God of War clone game that is just with a Wolverine skin on it.
That wasn't a bad game, though. I'll say that. I will say, though.
Yes, but it wasn't like a Wolverine game, you know?
Well, look at the movie it's based off of. They didn't have a lot of material to work with. But I thought that trailer for Wolverine was excellent. I showed it to Heather, and she was, like, interested, and then you see the close-up of the hands and the claws pop out, and she's just immediately just, oh! Like, they did a good job of just immediately making you go, oh, that's what this game is, and now I need to play it. That was a very effective trailer. So, by and large, well done, Sony. You've got a lot of games that I'm really, really excited about.
I got one more thing to say.
Uh-oh.
And I think this is important.
Make PS5s available?
The fact that Knights of the Old Republic is getting a remake by Sony in the world where games technically in the Star Wars universe technically have to be canon makes Darth Revan Star Wars canon.
I thought he already was. I thought like Clone Wars.
Mentioned him.
I thought Clone Wars either mentioned him or.
We'd have to search for it. I think. Let us know down in the comments. But like at the same time, like this is official. Like it's one thing to be like, yeah, he's mentioned. It's another thing to be like, no, he shows up, and this is where he is. Like so.
And that trailer was awesome.
It's so cool. It's a little weird that they're upfront calling it a remake. Which almost makes it feel like they're just going to take the old game and remaster it, which I hope is not the case.
No, because they called Final Fantasy VII a remake, and that was different than the original.
That's fair. So, regardless, this makes Darth Revan actual canon, and that's super cool to me.
Lastly, for our news this week, we've got more spin-offs for the Batman incoming. It just feels like they're just adding more and more stuff to this. Like Warner Brothers just seems really, really pleased with what Matt Reeves is doing with this project. So people don't believe it when they're just like saying, "Oh, Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson aren't happy with this Batman movie. They're fighting." Like that's just drama for the sake of drama. But a new Batman project is in the works, supposedly about Colin Farrell's Penguin character in the Batman. Which I'm looking at this going, so y'all didn't watch Gotham, did you? Because Gotham was an origin for Bruce Wayne, yes, but for most of the first season and first two seasons, it relies very heavily on the rise of Oswald Cobblepot in the Gotham crime organization, and it's actually done pretty well. I really, really liked it. I'm not overly excited for this. I'm not underly excited, if that makes sense. Like, cool, I guess. I'll believe it when I see it, because there's a lot of HBO Max stuff that hasn't gone into production yet that's been announced. But this is cool. It's further fleshing out the world. We've already got that GCPD show coming with, we think Jeffrey Wright's coming back for that as Commissioner Gordon, but that hasn't officially been confirmed yet. This is cool. We know we're not getting a ton of Penguin. Matt Reeves has said that. We're not getting a ton of Penguin in this movie, which I'm fine with. I kind of am hoping for in this Batman movie and a couple of the Matt Reeves Batman movies, we get Gotham's worst in small bit roles just to flesh out the world more. Like if we have, I was about to say the Riddler, but we know he's going to be the main villain in this movie, besides the Court of Owls, I assuming, because I refuse to get off that horse. If we have like a quick Anarchy cameo or not a Mad Hatter cameo or the Royal Flush Gang cameo. Like, just little things just to flesh out the world, or flush out the world a little bit more. And I think...
Boo!
And maybe this is that. Also, whatever we do that gives us more of Colin Farrell in this amazing prosthetic, I'm all about, because holy crap, that's actually Colin Farrell. Like, come on.
There's
now.
like the fact of the matter is, like, I think it was you told me, and there was the only reason you found out is because you looked at the casting list. We're like, that's Colin? No way! Like, oh, dude, I'm all about it. Absolutely all about it. And I think his appearance in the movie is what's going to make us want a series of his rise.
Yeah, I'm hoping they focus more on, like, the Gotham Underworld side. Like, maybe this is just called Gotham Underworld. I think that would be really, really awesome. Maybe barely any Batman, but maybe he's doing, like, has some turf wars with... I don't think we're getting Harvey Dent anytime soon in these movies, but in the comics and in the Arkham games, one of Penguin's biggest rivals is Two-Face. I think that could be interesting. Swap out Two-Face with maybe somebody else, and you can create maybe like a power vacuum type show, like a Boardwalk Empire type, with Colin Farrell as the lead. Oh, heck yes. And that could be where you have some of your other supporting villains. Again, maybe tie in the Court of Owls somehow, running the whole city, because I refuse to let that go. Also, we're not talking about it this week, but there's a first image released from Peacemaker. Nothing really too important. It's just Peacemaker and the rest of us crew sitting around a table, but I'm going, I think we're forgetting about Peacemaker. I'm really excited for that show, especially after watching The Suicide Squad. I appreciate HBO Max's approach for their DC shows so far. I'm really excited for Peacemaker. I think the GCPD show is going to be great. I think the Penguin show is going to be great. Even Titans, since going to HBO Max, has been leaps and bounds better than the first two seasons. I know, Josh, you said you still have some issues with it, but from storytelling perspective and just from overall just presentation, you could tell that someone else took over, because it does not feel like the first two seasons. You're like, oh, yeah, you have a budget and you're like streamlining the story. I still have quite a few issues with it being called Titans, because they don't, work as a team except for like two scenes in this entire season. But it's Dick Grayson heavy, so I'm always okay with that. But I think HBO Max has been a good home so far for these projects, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's other ones coming soon. What if? What if? Marvel's What If.
Hold on. No. Go.
You know where I'm going with this.
Put on your tin cap, you goof.
Okay.
Twice in one episode, man. This is nuts.
What if Penguin in this universe is the stand-in for Tony Zuko, and the Penguin show, the first season, ends with them going to the circus to shake down it for money, and that's how it leads into the next Batman. I think Tony Zuko as a character in the comics is only really there to kill Dick Grayson's parents. What if we make that an actual Gotham crime boss that's already existing, like a Penguin? Just my tinfoil theory. Now, some people will be like, well, make it Two-Face, because Two-Face was the one that almost killed Robin in Robin Year One when he was still a kid. Penguin could work too. Robin doesn't get along with Penguin. I think it'd be much more interesting if that's how we end things, because Peacemaker supposedly is going to massively expand its universe by the end of the first season. Rumors of Bane, but I don't believe those rumors because they're coming from very unreliable sources, so stop spreading that rumor. But James Gunn himself has said that there's big characters coming that he has planned for season 2 of Peacemaker. I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Reeves is thinking the same thing with this show, of maybe we can introduce other characters that will later show up in the movies in this show. Totally original idea there that they didn't copy from Marvel whatsoever.
But, don't break what isn't broken. Don't fix what isn't broken. Jeez, wow.
And don't drop the Graysons before they fly.
Oh. But at the same time, yeah, I'm down. Why not? I wouldn't be surprised if like a Sportsmaster or something shows up in Peacemaker.
Ooh, yeah, that would be a perfect James Gunn character.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, this week's episode, as every week's episode, is sponsored by TeePublic, where you can get all your Uncharted Media merch, whether it's t-shirts, mugs, notebooks, whatever else your heart desires with the Uncharted Media logo on it. It's there, so just go there, support the show. If you want, and they do well, we'll do more designs going forward, like tinfoil hat, whatever else. But yeah, if you like Uncharted Media, want merch, go there. Let's get sad, Josh. Oh, I couldn't think of a good transition out of that. I for one, am always a proponent that feeling emotion and feeling like sad or even crying in a movie is good if it is warranted, because it means that you're that invested in the story and they've done that well of a job of investing and telling their story. Or, like we talked about with Ninja Turtles, you could just be crying because they are embarrassing the name and legacy of those characters. So that's not what we're talking about here. We will be talking just about emotional, heavy, potentially tear-jerking scenes. A lot of these scenes I've definitely cried in at least once. But I've got 9. I'm sure Josh has slightly more than that. I'm trying to think of where we should start, Josh.
I got 9. Yeah, I got 9.
Perfect.
Also, I'm calling you out. Why did you just say that I probably have more than that? You trying to say I cry more on movies?
No, because when we were doing our pre-production before this, you said you were rattling off a whole bunch of these, so I assumed you had a long list. Yeah. No, of the two of us, I will freely admit that I probably cry more in movies than you do.
I've cut down the list quite a bit. I think at one point I had 25. So I was like, let's calm this down a little bit.
Also, I was originally thinking doing shows with this too, but TV we can put as a whole separate video because there's certain scenes. I almost put a certain scene from Avatar: The Last Airbender that don't watch at night when you're sleep deprived and you're gonna absolutely well up a little bit.
But like, there's scenes like that in every season in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, I was more specifically thinking about the one with Zuko when he betrays Iroh and he thinks Iroh doesn't love him anymore.
No, stop. Anyway, or like when they finally get reunited at the Battle of Bang Sui. Like, I can't. Anyway, okay, but we're not here to talk about that. I think what's important here is an emotional scene for us is not just sad. It can be triumphant, but it's something that is emotionally impactful, but that just happens to be sad sometimes. Most of the time. Yes.
So let's start off with one that is going to be interesting because Josh and I both have this movie on our lists, but they're not the same scene. So Josh and I will always sing and proclaim hallelujah the praises of Gavin O'Connor's Warrior, which is an underrated masterpiece. However, I know for a fact Josh and I have different scenes. I completely agree that Josh's is very, very heavy, but a different scene hits me more for different reasons. Yeah. Like Josh, what's your scene?
So, okay, in Warrior, they've built up a lot of the build-up between Tommy and his dad has been, his dad was, when Tommy was a kid, his dad was a raging alcoholic and a very abusive man. And so when Tommy comes back and through happenstance decides to train with his dad, there's a lot of, it's very obvious Tommy has not forgiven and will never forgive his father for what he did. And even though when the movie takes place, his dad has been sober for, what is it? It's like 2 or 3 years or something like that. It's a good amount of time.
1,000 days.
Yeah. So when Tommy finally snaps on him, because like he hasn't been exactly been nice, but he hasn't been mean for the sake of being mean until when Tommy is, the scene right before is when Tommy's playing, he's like gambling or something, and then says some really, really, really mean stuff.
The only F-bomb in the whole movie.
Yeah, ending with the line, the only thing that Brendan, his brother, and I have in common is we have absolutely no use for you. And I was like, oh, and that is the only thing. Your scene that I know you're going to say is just as good, but to me, the most emotional part of that is when Tommy realizes when he comes to the hotel room that later that night.
Nope, it's the next morning.
next morning, sorry.
Which implies that his dad was drinking all night.
All night. His dad is absolutely trashed, and he's listening to his Moby Dick tape. And, like, what is the line he keeps saying? We have to stop the ship.
We have to stop the ship.
We have to stop the ship.
You son of a... Stop the ship.
Yeah.
And it's, like, slurred because he's so out of it, and it's just grizzled.
And Tommy is, like, faced with the reality that his dad is just as hurt and as broken as he is. And it just... God, it just gets to me. And I think if there was ever a Warrior 2, I would love to see the implications of that scene on Tommy and his father's relationship.
Well, they're doing a sequel series. They're doing a sequel TV series, but I'm sure it's going to be new characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then also, not only does Tommy realize, but he like takes his dad's headphones off and then plops him in the bed and then hops into bed like he would be like a child that's scared of a thunderstorm and just lays his dad in his lap and then wraps his arms, like forcibly folds his dad's arms over his and just starts petting his head. And you're just like, let's just stop. And you got to think, he's hours away from the quarterfinals and the finals of the biggest fight. He could be training or warming up or doing whatever, but he's just laying in bed with his dad trying to help him recover. In that moment, like he's the one that's hurting the...
And just like, he's just sobbing the whole time too, of just like the dad is of like, you have to stop the ship, you have to stop the ship. And it was just like, God, that just, it hurts almost as much as your scene from that movie.
Yes. Which, I mean, honestly, all of Warrior is just emotionally draining, but in the best possible way. It's so cathartic.
Yeah.
But no more so than the final fight between the two brothers, more specifically, the last two rounds. I won't say the last round because the second to last round is also important because, for the most part, Tommy is the big muscle, the bruiser. He demolishes everyone, which... Just a quick side tangent. Can we just appreciate when he mowed over and murdered Mad Dog Grimes? He clotheslined 2 punches. He's out. I'm just going, yes. And some people are like, that's not realistic. Have you ever watched a fight? Because that was what's going to be happening if someone's unprepared like Mad Dog was.
But it is definitely unrealistic to break somebody's arm. Anyway, but yes.
But
that's not against the rules.
In the second to last round of the finals between these two brothers, in which case Tommy, because he's the bruiser, has just been mauling his younger brother, who's more of the tactician, because, fun fact, Tom Hardy had never done mixed martial arts before, so his fights had to be Goldberged, in which case shorter and made him look like a monster, whereas Joel Edgerton actually had mixed martial arts training, so he was fully capable of holding these long fights together. Cool. So it worked narratively, but also worked from a performance standpoint. And so Brendan, the older brother, Joel Edgerton's character, is trying to wear down Tommy, and eventually Tommy slips up, and Brendan gets him in a submission hold, which you would think, okay, cool, this will end the match, Tommy will tap out. Tommy's still fighting and still punching away, so Brendan has no choice but pops the shoulder out of place, which is just the worst noise in the world. And what's worse, though, is when Tommy comes up because the round's over, you can clearly see his arm just chilling loose, and you're like,
dude,
nope, no thank you. But, like, from the pain in his arm, but also just I'm imagining more of the emotional weight of knowing he's screwed out of not winning this, and just all the emotion coming to him. Tommy just starts breaking down, and Brendan almost calls the match there just to be with his brother. But Frank Grillo, again, really underrated performance. Everyone in this movie is underrated, but Frank Grillo's like, do you want to win this fight? If you don't knock him out, you don't have a home. No, wait, no, that was the Koba fight. He's like, you need to. Yeah. He's not your brother.
Say less about that Koba fight, my guy. Oh my gosh.
He says in that final round, he's not your brother. He's in the way, and so he's got to basically go out there. And Brendan doesn't even put up a fight. It's like trying to put down a wounded dog. Basically, as Tommy is like holding up his shoulder, and it's just so hard to watch. And Brendan like puts his arms down. He's like, I don't want to fight him. And then puts his arms back up, and you know something bad's going to happen. So he does the duck, roundhouse kick to the face in slow-mo, knocks him down, puts him in a, is it a Kimura, basically? Puts him
it was a very,
He basically is trying to pop the other
tap.
shoulder out. And so Tommy's struggling, he's trying to fight, and Brendan's like, tap, Tommy, tap, it's okay. I love you, as he's just pounding the crap out of him. And Tommy, in that moment, is just like, that's really what he needed to hear. That's what he's been needing to hear for decades. And so he eventually taps, and you're just like, oh, the emotion, it's so good. And then they walk out together, realizing that Tommy's probably going to go to jail for abandoning his unit, which is a whole other
court-martialed, whatever.
But the emotion of that is just so, it's hard to watch, but it's so cathartic. It's so good on so many levels.
It's super good. Runner-up for that movie, for the Koba fight, and he's like, if you don't knock him out, you don't have a home.
Let's go, man.
Get him, Joel. Get him. Let's go.
Tommy, Brendan is wrestling the bear, and he slips right out. Oh, the Miracle Kid. No, Miracle Kid's Daniel Bryan. But you get him mixed up.
Anyway.
Doesn't even look like Kurt Angle in that fight.
Dude, I didn't find out it was Kurt Angle until my third watch. And I was like, somebody was like, bro, so who's in it? And I was like, Joel Edgerton, Tom Hardy. And I was like, I know the other people. Let me look up the cast. Kurt Angle? What?
Which the irony is not lost on me that uber-American wrestler Kurt Angle is playing an evil Russian.
Yes. Oh, so good.
Okay, so let's pick a scene from a movie that I don't think we will agree on. So, Josh, what is a movie that you think won't be on my list?
I know I'm gonna pick this because I know it's not on your list, and that's literally the opening of Up. And I know it doesn't get you, but it gets me. All right. Oh, excuse me. I got a burp. But there's the opening scene, and I think a majority of normal, healthy, emotional people would see that scene, and it does affect me. I think the only scene there's a lot of Disney stuff that has affected me emotionally, but I think this is, to me, it's top five, just to the point where the character building for the old man, all the way up to, they tell us everything we need to know about his emotional and headspace whenever we do start our adventure. It does everything that it needs to do in the beginning of the film. So, I mean, I don't think I have to explain it a lot. I just know that it doesn't affect you as much as it affects us emotionally healthy people.
It's because there's other Pixar ones that get to me more. So let's go over that now, shall we? Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3.
Okay.
Toy Story 3 also kind of makes me mad at Toy Story 4 that it couldn't even get close to replicating the emotion. Like, come on, Woody and Buzz are saying goodbye to each other forever, and I don't really feel anything here. Like, come on, Pixar, be better than this. But Toy Story 3, I still, to this day, cannot get through Toy Story 3 without crying. And I will always admit that, because for anybody that's listened to the show for any length of time, the first Toy Story was my first movie in theaters ever. So Toy Story holds a very special place in my heart. Third one, Bonnie was not the right person to give these toys to. She gave up on Woody after a year. But seeing Andy giving away these toys, but also describing all of them, how much he cares about all of them, you're just like, ugh. I know some people are like, oh yeah, I cried when they were in the incinerator together, just holding hands. That never got to me, just because I'm like, it's a kid's movie. We know that they're going to get out of there. Whereas it's much more believable, and I was much more invested when he's handing the toys off to somebody else, because that hit our generation hard, because we were entering that stage of our lives. We were handing off our childhood to a point that it doesn't exist anymore. It's not like we're handing it off to a next generation. It's just, we're not kids anymore. We're moving on to college like Andy was. And these characters that we've known and loved for so long, it felt like the ending of a story. And as much as I don't mind Toy Story 4, I view it as an epilogue. Toy Story 3 just felt like the end of an era. And I remember seeing trailers for it going, The first two are perfect. How are you going to do anything even close to that? And 3 is as close to a perfect movie as you can get. And the ending is just still so good. And actually, the only thing that made me cry harder than the ending of Toy Story 3 is when Stan Lee died. And someone did that meme of the ending of Toy Story 3. And Stan Lee was Andy and Bonnie was Kevin Feige. And he's like handing all the toys. And he's like, and last but not least is my buddy Spider-Man. Now I need you to take real good care of him. He means a lot to me. And I'm going, you stop it. You stop it right now. This is hurting me more, actually. But Toy Story 3 is just, my gosh. Just say Toy Story 3 and people will go, oh yeah, there was not a dry eye in my theater.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and it, like, it came out the year I graduated high school. So, like, and that was, like, one of the last times my mom and I went and saw a movie together. Like, actually, no, that was the last time my mom and I went and saw a movie, just her and I. So it was like, that hit hard. And I think I knew you were going to say 3, and I didn't want to just have repeats. So I do have a Toy Story moment on this list.
Toy Story 2, When She Loved Me.
Jesse's story.
From Toy Story 2. Screw you, Toy Story. You didn't have to go there, man. You did not have to go there, Toy Story.
Breaks my heart every time. And I think it's definitely added to the arc that she's given throughout the third movie as well, that she's just one of the toys now. She's not like she's not something from another family. She's like, no, that's Jessie. That's like our best friend. Like that's Jessie. And I think, like, God, man. And Toy Story 1 isn't exactly like emotionally heavy, and not exactly. I mean, it's a toy adventure. It was the first time experimenting with new technology, all that kind of stuff. So it didn't do much. So, but God, Jessie's story, like, it's a movie on its own inside of a movie, and it gives so much motivation. Like, I just can't. I was talking. I told you off about doing like pre stuff before we got on here to record, that I asked my brother and his wife. I was like, hey, like, this is the topic. I'm kind of like at a blank right now. What are some stuff that, the emotional scenes? And I was like, and Ben and I were talking about Toy Story 3, and then his wife goes, well, yeah, but what about Jessie's story? And instantly my heart broke, and I was like, oh man, I can't.
Stupid Sarah McLachlan song.
Oh my gosh. So yeah,
there are certain people in my family that still to this day don't watch Toy Story 2 because of the sad Jessie scene, in their words.
Dude, it hurts. It hurt. Like, and I think part of that is because, like, Jessie as a character is so likable from the get-go. And they're like, no, you're supposed to. No,
yeah, she's not like Woody, who's prone to pettiness and jealousy, or Buzz, who's prone to be a little delusional, not the smartest. Like, Jessie, there really is no faults in her. She's just good. But everyone you know and love will eventually leave you or die.
I was like, no, stop. You can't do that. Don't do that to me in a kid's movie. Oh, man.
What's another one, Josh?
Good stuff. I got Harry Potter.
Okay, same.
Because
I'll be curious if we have the same one.
Yeah. Even though I didn't have a lot of attachment to the series, I still saw the Harry Potter movies in theater. And so, when I saw Dobby's death, I legitimately almost cried.
I was wondering if that was going to be...
I was heartbroken.
I was wondering if it was going to be either that, mine, which we'll talk about later, we'll talk about after this, or when Cedric Diggory dies, because that's such such an abrupt, yay, everyone's celebrating. Oh, he's not moving. Like, I think that's the biggest hard pivot in any franchise. Just going, yeah, we're happy. Oh no. I mean, and I almost can't take it when the dad just screams, that's my boy. And you're like,
yes.
Oh no.
Oh, that hurts. But, like, Dobby's death hits hard too, because he's finally. Why do movies do this? They finally give us the character's redemption and then murder them. Just
Harry Potter. And you just hear the whimper in the background, and you're just like, no,
dude! Instantly, that was like one of the first times Like, so Harry Potter in general, my first Harry Potter was Goblet of Fire. Like, I love
The best
Goblet
one.
of. Yeah, it's great, fantastic. Okay, I was on board from then on, and was like, yeah, I'm watching these. I'm here. Cool, cool, cool. And then, but like Dobby's death was the first time I was like, oh, oh, don't. I was feeling things. Don't do that to me.
The thing
Like,
is, like,
oh,
you killed him off right when I was starting to like him, because Dobby has never been my favorite character. He's always kind of
no.
been a little annoying, but when they send him out and the way they send him out, and you're just like, stop it. He gets a better death than Fred? Really? He gets a better death than like half the people that we actually have known and loved for multiple movies. But Dobby's death, just that little whimper of the Harry Potter, you're just like,
I was like,
no,
oh,
no, 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 no,
don't
no,
you
no. And then
dare.
Harry's like, I'm going to bury him by hand. It's the proper way. No magic. You're just like, ugh. The one that gets me, because there's more of a story to it, is when Dumbledore dies in the sixth one.
That's
The
fair.
story for me, though, is my family, we read the books. The first, like, the first two, my dad and I read together. My mom read separately. And then from then on, we would, like, rotate. Whenever the new book, we would come out, we would go to the midnight release parties for the books, and we'd go through them really, really quickly. Like, I'd read it for like 4 or 5 hours. My mom would read it for like a couple hours. My dad would eventually get around to reading it. And so we were on a road trip when Half-Blood Prince came out. And so I still very, very distinctly remember this, as I was trying to read the book out loud, but I wasn't saying it loud enough. So my mom read it so everyone in the car could hear it. And we get to the part where Dumbledore dies, and we didn't actually think Rowling had the balls to do it. So we get to that part. My mom is trying to read it out loud between tears, and I'm in the back just sobbing my eyes out. I think even my dad probably got choked up, just like, you can't do this. This is Dumbledore, who we know and love. The movie, I think his death could have been better. I think the movie's forecast it too much that Snape is not bad, and there's clearly a plan here. Like, having Snape underneath go shh to Harry, I'm just like, that's not in the book. In the book, Harry is petrified and hid under an invisibility cloak, so he physically has to watch and can't do anything about Dumbledore, as opposed to him just standing aside because Snape told him, hey, there might be a plan here. And there's genuine doubt of whether or not Snape is evil or not. And Dumbledore actually pleads to him in the book, basically saying, don't do this. Like, it's hard to watch a man that you've known as like the all-powerful wizard basically begging for his life. But in the movie, his death is sad, but what really, really gets to me is when they're all huddled around his body, and I believe it's McGonagall first puts her wand up and sends the light up over the dark mark above Hogwarts, and then every other student sends their light, and it just destroys the cloud overhead, and there's not a whole lot of music in the background. You're just like, oh, I love the symbolism here of the light cutting through the dark.
Yeah.
It's not very subtle. J.K. Rowling is not known for subtlety, but that moment was so beautiful and so powerful, and it did justice to the book, even if it totally gave away that Snape was not as evil as we suspected.
Yeah, well, opinions about Snape are put aside for this.
So I'll make Josh happy again with one that I don't know if he's going to be on your list or not, but this will make you very, very happy because I have to sing a little bit. Take me home to the place where I belong. West Virginia. Yeah. For those that don't know,
country mama.
I'm not the biggest fan of Kingsmen: The Golden Circle. I think the first one is so much better. But oh my God, does the second one get me at least a little choked up every single time? And West Virginia by John Denver, of all things, gets me there. So for those that don't know, the Kingsmen basically are kind of like the cooler version of James Bond. And Mark Strong's Merlin character is more or less in charge of them all. He's in charge of... Who's the other guy? The one with the eye patch. Why am I blanking on... Colin Firth. He's in charge of Colin Firth. He's in charge of Colin Firth. He's in charge of Taron Egerton's Eggsy. And so they're going on a mission to save the world. And Eggsy accidentally steps on a landmine. And so... Mark Strong's character, Merlin, is just like, here, we got this can that'll freeze the landmine for a split second. So they're just like, all right, cool. We'll freeze it. We'll get off. Clear out of the way. So he freezes it. They turn and run, and nothing happens. They're like, oh, well, that's good. Only to find out that Mark Strong's Merlin character shoved Eggsy off so he could step on the landmine instead and take his place. And they're like, you can't do that. I'm your superior officer. Yes, I can. Give me the can. It's empty. And he still gives him the can anyway, but it's empty, so he can't do anything. He's like, no, your father did this for me. Now it's my turn. And so he's like, let me do this. You guys complete the mission. That's in order. So they're taking their sides, and the guards are still guarding the door. So he just starts singing West Virginia at the top of his lungs. And they're like, are you expecting anybody? Calling into their boss. She was like, no, just bring him in. So they start moving forward to get him, and he just keeps singing at the top of his lungs, West Virginia. And he's looking over to his comrades, nods. They're just like, it's been an honor. And so he headbutts one guard, and then the rest of the guards come in, and he literally just looks over at Eggsy one more time, gives him a nod. And the part that always gets me, this man of strength and power closes his eyes and braces for death. And you're just like, stop. And he goes out on one final high note and steps off the landmine and basically takes out the rest of the bodyguards so his buddies can go finish the mission. You're just like, stop.
Dude, it's good. It's so good. I think there was like an uptick in like listens to that song for like,
dude, that video, I watched the scene again on YouTube last night for a refresher. That's like 22 million views on that one scene.
It's a great scene. Like, there's no we all know Kingsman has a special place in my heart just because it was a unique kind of spy stories. So it's great.
Now y'all are gonna have
stuff.
West Virginia stuck in your head.
West Virginia. So since you got spies and doing like military stuff, I think I'm gonna bring my only military moment only emotional moment from a military movie. And it's one I had also forgotten about until my brother reminded me. So in Saving Private Ryan, like a lot of stuff happens, right?
Oh yeah.
But the moment that gets me, and it still makes me squirm, is when I forget names, but one of them is fighting a German soldier, and the German soldier gets on top of him, and it has the knife, and he's pushing it down into his chest, and the newbie is on the stairs, but he can't. He's so petrified he can't get up to go save his friend, and so like he just sits there and listens to his friend get slowly stabbed through the chest. It's just. I can't, like, it's been such a long time, and that movie is such one of those, like, you don't watch Saving Private Ryan without a completely open evening because it's so emotionally exhausting.
It's like Prisoners. You can't just go, I'm going to rewatch this a couple times a year. Like, no.
Yeah. But, like, that scene specifically, seeing a character who, by the end of the movie, really finally gets his comeuppance for just being too scared. And he lets, honestly, one of the most entertaining characters of the movie just get killed in a way that is not honorable, that is not flashy, that is kind of sad. That's really, really sad. To me, it really hit me really, really, really hard. And I might have to go rewatch it just because, God, man.
It's not on my list, but I have an honorable mention from Saving Private Ryan now that you bring it up. And it's at the end when we see old Matt Damon and he just looks at his wife, tell me I've been a good man. Like, tell me this was all worth it. I'm just like,
dude,
stop. You're just putting yourself on this pedestal that you know you can't reach of, have I lived up to what they deserved of me? I'm just like, stop, man, stop.
Dude, so good.
So, one of mine, completely different. My only Michael Bay movie on this list today.
Okay.
We Won, Gracie, from Armageddon, when Bruce Willis dies. Oh, dude. Is this on your list?
I hate that movie. No, I hate that movie so much.
Logically, no, the movie does not make sense. Why don't you just train astronauts to be oil drillers? And the movie will be like, well, it's hard. I get that. Why don't you, have a mix. You train some actual astronauts and some drill people. And even Ben Affleck, I think in the commentary was just like, this movie doesn't make sense, right? And Michael Bay basically told him to F off. But maybe it's because Bruce Willis is actually trying in this movie, or just because my family has seen Armageddon so much for a long time. Summer movies were either Armageddon or Independence Day. I can quote both of those very thoroughly. And Armageddon always gets me at the end when Ben Affleck, and honestly one of his better acting performances of that time, he wasn't that great of an actor at that time yet, he's great now, but when Bruce Willis's character of Harry basically pushes him in the elevator, he's just like, no, I got this one. You tell my daughter I love her, and he stays behind. You're just like, oh, I promised I'd come home for this one, Gracie, but it looks like I'm going to have to break that promise. And you're just like, oh, Michael Bay, why don't you try for actual emotion in more of your movies, please? Because this is actually pretty good. Let's also go with one that I'm going to need to explain myself after I say it. And then after the explanation, hopefully it makes a lot more sense. Because I put Night at the Museum 3 on my list.
Okay.
And here's why.
Okay.
It was one of, if not the final performance that I ever saw of Robin Williams. It came out just a few months after his death. Now, he did like 2 other movies, one low-budget indie movie and one called like The Angriest Man in Brooklyn. But this was more or less like his last big movie, and we were all still kind of really, really feeling the impact, because more so than any other celebrity, I feel like the death of Robin Williams really shook a lot of people. It definitely shook me just because he was one of my favorite, not just actors, but just entertainers. I love his stand-up, as I discovered as an adult. I really love his style. His dramatic performances were excellent. Every kid was raised on his Aladdin as Genie. He was just excellent. And up until that point, he was always open about his mental health, which I always thought was really, really brave and awesome of him, because that's not something at that time was very well talked about or discussed in Hollywood circles. And Night at the Museum, as a whole, it's kind of just whatever. I really like the first one, and the second and third one are just kind of there. But the raw emotion going into the third one, knowing not only this trilogy ending that I actually somewhat enjoy, but knowing this will be the last time that I see Robin Williams on screen. And they didn't like send him off in like we know you're gone with us now, because I don't think they knew at the time that this was going to be his last one. But I still remember like his last line is something along the lines of like, "Look to the sun, boy. It's a new day." As like Ben Stiller's character is going off on his own adventure, and still I will forever associate that movie with this is the goodbye to Robin movie, and it makes it really difficult to watch that finale. The movie as itself is probably like a 6 out of 10, nothing spectacular, but that scene, even if it's not like emotionally manipulative, which I appreciate that they didn't make it emotionally manipulative to try and really drag pull the heartstrings, you still feel it knowing this is going to be the last time we're going to see him, which just made it that much more difficult.
Yeah, he had so much left. It always felt like he's got so much more left to do, and so I can totally understand that being his final performance. It can really pull. Now, I'm going to talk about a final performance, but not necessarily. The guy's still alive, but it's just his final performance of a character, of a character, and that in I can't even pick one scene, but basically the last fourth of Logan is so good, and like it builds it throughout the entire movie, so it's not like it's just this thing, just this scene, but like the last fourth of Logan is just, it's intense, it's guttural, it's sad, it's happy. It is the perfect way to send off Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and to the point of everyone's always like, oh, so the multiverse opens up, then bringing back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Logan is the send off, and I want nothing else. I can't. To me, it's disrespectful at that point to bring Hugh back after the last fourth of Logan, because it's like, if you're not at the very least got like misty eyed when X has to bury him. I was just like, oh.
So
And then the cross falls over. Oh man, I can't handle it, bro.
you go from, it's emotional roller coaster. You go from the pure excitement of, oh, we finally got primal rage Wolverine when he like juices up one more time and just as he runs through the woods, just slicing and dicing fools. You're like, this is the Wolverine we've always wanted. And then clone Wolverine impales him on the tree, and you start to feel it. And then, at least for me, I started to tear up, and the tears started flowing when he's holding his daughter's hand, and he's just like, so this is what it feels like. And then you remember the prophecy from the Wolverine, in which case you'll die holding your heart in your hand, and you're just like, just stop. And she's just like basically begging and pleading. She's like, no, you stay with me. And so I'm already a blubbering mess. And then, like you said, she buries him, even more waterworks, and then she's about to leave, and then she turns back and turns the cross into an X. And then you're just like, just stop. I don't have any more tears in my body. Like, oh man. I don't know if I haven't rewatched it in a few months, but I'm sure if I rewatched it now, I still don't know if I can make it through without bawling my eyes out, because it is such a beautiful send off to a character that basically played the character for almost 20 years. And just something so simple as, whether you wanted to be or not, you are an X-Men. You will always be an X-Men. And you're just like, oh, like there's the Mount Rushmore of comic book movies. I don't think that one is ever coming off that Mount Rushmore. It is just that perfect. And as much as I would love a Hugh Jackman cameo in Multiverse of Madness, I'm with you. It's got to be something really, really special if it is, or else leave the legacy where it is, because that send-off just rips your heart out in the best possible way.
Yeah, it's too good. And I think it's what makes why I'm so interested, I think, and I think why the world is so interested in when they eventually bring Wolverine back. Because Hugh Jackman left just a huge hole in our hearts. And also, like you said, he played the character for over just about 20 years. Like, you can't just put anybody in that role, which is why I know it's a hope and dream, but I've accepted in a lot of ways that Tom Hardy is not the man. Physically, he's perfect for the role, and his acting style is perfect for the role. But that's like Tom can't grow into the role like Wolverine needs it to be. So I think because of Logan's betrayal, because of Hugh Jackman's betrayal of Logan, specifically in Logan, Wolverine has become an even more special character, and thanks to that send off.
As much as you want Tom Hardy and I want Daniel Radcliffe, at the end of the day, I think they have to go with an unknown actor, just because Hugh Jackman at the time, he had been in some stuff, but he was a theater guy, so he was able to become Wolverine. That's all we knew of that role. Like, we didn't have any preconceived notions of what Iron Man would be before Robert Downey Jr. came in. We would have preconceived notions for Wolverine. They need to do something new and something fresh with it. And I think basically starting from scratch almost with a completely unknown actor might be the better option there. I got two more. How many more you got?
I got two more as well.
Cool. I'll go with the obvious one that I'm surprised it's taken me this long to talk about. Iron Giant had to be on here somewhere. I won't talk about that one last, just because
it's the obvious one.
Yeah, this is the
obvious one. I really almost
one.
put it on my list, but I was like, Nathan's going to talk about it.
Obviously, the "you stay, I go, no following" will always get to me. Like, it's just one of the best sacrifices. I still say Iron Giant's the best Superman movie ever made, but the older I get, there's more scenes that still just emotionally get to me just as much, if not more, than that finale of I am not a gun. Like that choice, or the one that really, when I showed Heather for the first time, just like really, really resonated with me and just stuck with me so much was souls don't die. And like
Mm.
just the morality that Hogarth imparts to the giant, the lessons that he teaches him of there's so much stuff that a child like Hogarth should not need to know at his age, which still to me supports my theory that his dad died, and that's why he's so comfortable with the concept of death. Because like the line that still breaks my heart into 1,000 pieces of it's wrong to kill, but it's not wrong to die. Like,
Ooh.
Hogarth,
Ooh.
who hurt you this bad that you're like this wise when it comes to death? Which still, I think his dad died, maybe in war somewhere. But I think there's so many good lines that just really just cut to the heart and the soul of the movie. And yes, the "you stay, I go, no following" is perfect. You are who you choose to be, Superman. It's just so perfect. But there's just so many other great scenes of when they're flipping through the comic books during bedtime stories, and it's like, and here's Superman the greatest. Oh, that's Atomo. He's evil, but you're not Atomo. As the giant just like sees himself in this, and your heart just breaks, going, "You are not bad just because you see this." Which it's almost like that could be used as a representation for racism, almost.
What? No way.
Of maybe you're not how people portray you. But just Iron Giant in general, I don't need to speak any more about it just because I do plenty enough.
It's good. It's a great moment, and there's just reasons that I didn't put it on my list because I knew you would do enough. You would have enough for it.
I'll be curious to see if you have my last one though on either of your last two.
We'll see. Second to last is going to be Perks of Being a Wallflower. The scene when it's revealed why Charlie feels so guilty about his aunt's death. I don't know, Nathan, have you seen Perks of Being a Wallflower?
I have not actually.
Okay.
But it's been years, so I don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, that's fair. Perks of Being a Wallflower has a special place in my heart. It's literally always been one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. For obvious reasons, if you know me and you see the movie. But it deals with the character Charlie, who writes letters to himself or the book is based off of a bunch of letters that have been found written by Charlie. So Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of the first movies I ever realized that, for whatever reason, made me realize that movies were being made from books. And I saw the trailer and was like, this looks really great. And it said based on a book, on the book or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I went and read the book before the movie came out, that started a whole new thing of me doing that. But to the point where I think the movie did a better job of this moment.
Really?
Yes. So the book kind of like drops hints throughout the whole story, throughout the book, and to the point where it's actually the quote unquote the big reveal. It's not that big of a reveal because you can kind of piece little things together to kind of figure out what happened. But in the movie, they don't allude to it at all. Period. I mean, they give little moments and like memories of the scene of the day that it happened, that she got in a car accident and died instantly, but they don't really like put a lot into it. So Charlie deals with like anxiety disorders and has a mental break several times throughout the movie, and to the point where like he eventually experiments with drugs, as most teenagers do, and like it sends him into a clinical depression to where he ends up back in the hospital, which is where it's revealed that he feels so guilty about his aunt's death. And when his aunt died, he was like, I think it's like 6 or 7. When his aunt died, it was on Christmas, so he hates Christmas because of that reason. But it's revealed he feels guilty because she used to sexually abuse him, and he was wishing that she was dead, and then she got killed in the accident. And so he blames him. He's like, the two sides of his brain are fighting each other of like, no, this woman abused me and does not deserve to live. And I actually really cared about this person because they're family, and I wish them dead, and now they're dead, and that's my fault. So it's just like, and it like comes out of nowhere, and it's like this build of Charlie's character for like an hour and a half of like, oh, that's why you act this certain way, this in this certain way, and interact with love, and this it's such a good movie. And while it can be written off as like a teen, like romance, whatever, rebellion film, whatever. To me, it hit me really, really hard at the time that I saw it. I think I saw it like in college. I don't remember, but yeah, it hit me really, really hard where I live, and just that reveal of why he's dealing with these things is like, how do you emotionally sit there and go, all right, guy, so you were sexually abused by your aunt, and then you wished her dead, and then she died, and now you feel like it's your fault. Like, oh, that's tough. It's tough stuff.
All right. What's your final one?
I'm just going to say the line from the scene. And
don't say How to Train Your Dragon.
No. Mr. Frodo, I can't carry the ring for you, but I sure can carry you. Oh! It hits me. No? Nothing? It is the moment where I was like, okay, I appreciate Sam's journey throughout all three films.
See, I get what the scene is going for, but I hate that line so much. It's so dumb.
No!
It's so cheesy.
I love it!
Like, if he just picked him up and carried him up the mountain, I think that would have been more effective, but I think that line is so cheesy. Like, there's so many other scenes in Lord of the Rings, like, my friends, you bow to no one, and all of Gondor bows down to all the hobbits, or better yet, of like, Sam, I have to go, and he leaves to go to the great beyond with...
Oh, you mean at like the third ending to Return of the King?
Okay, everyone complains about the endings in Return of the King. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's closure. I think the one where Sam goes back to the Shire, that's overkill. That just doesn't feel necessary.
But... However, just because not even, I want to say, well, technically I could say, an hour before this, because that's how long Return of the King is, Frodo basically tells Sam to never touch the ring. And in that moment, it would be so easy for Sam, who is literally so good-hearted and is literally like the goodest person in the whole franchise.
He a good boy.
He a good boy. If anybody was a golden retriever, it'd be Sam.
It's Sam. He's even got a dog name.
But in that moment, it would have been easier to take the ring and walk up by yourself and throw it in. But in that moment, he respected his best friend's wishes and was like, you know what? Fine. I can't. I'm still physically able to keep going, and you made me promise to not touch the ring ever again. So fine, I'm gonna pick you up, and we're gonna finish this journey because that's what we started out to do, and that's what Gandalf made me promise to do. And I don't care what you have to say. It's a great line.
It's so cheesy. Okay, better lines is when Frodo is literally offering the ring to Aragorn in Fellowship of the Ring. Has his open hand and everything, and Aragorn just like closes his hand and it's like, I would have followed you to the gates of Mordor, and like openly refuses the ring, which, if I'm correct, he's the first person we've seen resist the ring just straight up. Like, I know the power that this can wield, but I do not want it. And I'm always fascinated with characters that need and should be in positions of leadership but refuse that leadership. Dick Grayson in Battle for the Cowl, Joshua in the Bible, or when, what's his face, Sean Bean in his billionth death, when he goes down swinging with the 5 arrows and he keeps insisting Gondor has no king, Gondor needs no king, my friend, my brother, my king. You're just like, brotherhood and manly tear deaths. But Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's the big culmination of Sam's arc. My thing, though, is I've never disliked Sam. I've always thought Sam was a much better character than Frodo, so this wasn't like a big revelation to me. Frodo is the single-handed most overrated character in the entire franchise. Like, get out of here.
Just like Bilbo.
He should have just... Sam should have just knocked out Frodo, apologized later, just be like, hey, I took care of the ring, by the way, because you were just whining about it incessantly, but it's done now. Let's go.
You're right. Like, and that's, I think, the tough part is there's so many good moments in Lord of the Rings, the whole series. Like, well, I never thought I'd die side by side by an elf. What about side by side with a friend? It was like, oh, right there. All
that
right.
I can do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude. Or Aragorn's speech at the Black Gate.
Which fits even better with the Avengers theme.
It does. I can't unsee it. It's so good. But just like there's so many really, really good moments. And I'm not saying that is the best moment out of the series. It is on the list of most emotional moments. Okay?
Alrighty, for my last one, I'm sure Josh is in the same camp with me. And there's a reason I said it for last, because it's one of the ones that just hit me the hardest when I saw it in 2018. I love you. I have always loved you. From A Quiet Place, with the sign language and the whole... It basically personifies the whole movie, and it's done so well. So for those that don't know, A Quiet Place was and still is the best movie of 2018. That movie is a masterpiece. And so this family, for those that don't know for some reason, this family undergoes a tremendous tragedy in the opening act of this movie, and the daughter very much holds herself responsible, even though it's not directly her fault, but she definitely has a hand in the death of her little brother. And so she has this estranged relationship with her dad, which is so beautifully shown in the movie as a lack of communication by literally their inability to speak, meaning they cannot speak about their problems. It's the symbolism is so good. But he insists that you can't check the basement. You can't check the basement. That's my area. And so she, like, the daughter kind of resents John Krasinski's character of just like, he hates me. He doesn't care about me. But she doesn't know his full plan. And she just like, well, why is he taking my brother out to learn about wilderness survival and not me? I'm the older one. And it's just like, does he hate me? No, it's just that the boy who's much more nervous and timid needs to be shaken out of that timidity if he wants to survive in this world, and he needs to someday be the man of the house, whereas the girl is already pretty self-sufficient on her own. And so the kids get trapped in a silo, and they escape that, and they're trying to make their way back to the house, and they get attacked by the creatures that basically get picked up by sound. And so the dad tries to make the save, and he tries to attack the creature with a shovel. But the creature basically sees it and almost like gashes him open. And so he's on the ground, starts attacking the truck that the kids are hiding in. And so very slowly, the dad stands up, and the beautiful, beautiful music by Marco Beltrami kicks in, and you're just like, oh no, something bad's going to happen. And so the same shovel, I love the symbolism of this, the same shovel that John Krasinski's character just tried to kill the alien creature with, he's now using as a support to try and stand himself up. And so, ironically enough, it's almost the same symbolism as the Seth Rollins Triple H WrestleMania match, in which case Seth Rollins used the sledgehammer as a crutch instead of a weapon, which I thought was actually brilliant storytelling. But getting back to the Krasinski thing, he gets up using that same shovel and then drops the shovel as a form of surrender. He's not going to try and attack the creature who are drawn by sound. He uses sign language to tell his daughter, I love you. I have always loved you. And he does the motions with it, and then gives what I will always say is the most gut-wrenching and guttural scream in movie history. It's everything. It is pain. It is anguish. It is relief, all coming out at once in one scream. You hear the anguish in his voice of knowing he's going to die and he's going to be without his family, but also the release of, I have not been able to scream like this at the top of my lungs safely in a very long time, and he's just letting it all out. And so the creature goes and basically kills him, so the kids have a chance to get home. And when they get home, the daughter sees the basement for the first time and sees all the plans that the dad's been making of trying to develop a hearing aid for her, and has tried to learn all about audiology just so she can hear again and understand that, oh my gosh, he just wasn't telling me his whole plan. He did love me all along, and he was trying to do these things. It's so much that analogy of the rebellious teenager that doesn't understand why the parent does the things that they do. And John Krasinski's mastery of that scene and his directing was just so beautiful and just hit me so hard. I'm not a parent by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm getting to that age where I appreciate my parents more and what they've done, and wanting to be a parent someday, stuff like that hits me more. And that's why whenever we talk about shows that hit me hard, I'm going to absolutely talk about The Haunting of Hill House, because the first time I watched Haunting of Hill House, when the oldest son says, I can fix this, the same thing his father said, that, no joke, just shattered me into 1,000 pieces, going, you tried so hard to not be your dad, but in the end you realize he did okay and you want to be him now. And Quiet Place just is so masterful of, there was this grand plan, you just didn't see it, and this father's willing to lay down his life for his kids, which is the greatest thing a father could do. Quiet Place is so good, people. I cannot rave about this movie enough. The second one was just fine, but the first one is genuinely a masterpiece that I still am amazed by how good it is in that scene specifically. I just need to say, I love you. I have always loved you. And people immediately just go, oh, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There's a lot of really good scenes in that movie. The death of the kid at the beginning is hard. It hurts. It hurts quite a bit. But
as Rascal Flatts would say, it doesn't hurt the most.
Oh, but yeah, I love you. I've always loved you. As far as like the moment in the past 10 years that has hit the hardest, I think that's up there easily. Yeah.
Any last minute thoughts there, Josh?
Nah, man. There's obviously, I think it's important to make sure we say that like these are not the only, obviously the superior moments. Like, these are just our favorites, because there are so many moments we're not.
Yeah.
We're not
if you're like a dog person, Marley and Me or I Am Legend, and those hit you hard.
Look, dude, you don't even have to be a dog person, but Marley and Me hits hard.
Yeah.
I literally, Marley and Me is one of those movies that you can only watch once because it hurts. It hurts so much.
Like my dog Skip.
Okay, so anyway, yeah, I think it's. I could sit here and be like, emotional scenes are the things that make us come back for movies, but like, yeah, it's a thing things we remember.
Very, very true. What are some of the scenes that hit you the hardest? Let us know. We always like hearing from you guys. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to us on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. And if you haven't already subscribed to us on YouTube, we are now only 8 subscribers away from 500.
Yeah.
We're so close. So subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.